to work with Pedro Pascal, superstar.
Misty Rosas is an actress, stunt artist, and suit performer, best known for bringing Kuiil to life in The Mandalorian.
With Kuiil, it was a lifetime of work.
Misty is also Frog Lady in season 2.
Oh my god, I get to babysit Grogu.
Yeah. Before becoming part of the Star Wars universe, Misty started as a gymnast, which eventually led her to perform as Amy the Gorilla in Congo, Word Party, and live performance in Disneyland's Fantasmic.
The gorilla characters, that is the hardest thing that I've ever done.
Misty is also a singer and songwriter behind the award-winning music video Panic Button. You jump from a 40-foot drop?
Yeah, we did a high fall.
Today, her career spans through film and television, with credits including The Hunger Games, Van Helsing, Sid the Science Kid, and The Country Bears.
Go about your life, do the things you love, and just trust it. There's a timing that we're not necessarily aware of until, bam, it's right there.
Misty, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course,
I'm excited to be here.
Kuiil
Yes.
left a major impression on fans, and you helped bring him to life in that costume. How did you bring him to that screen and allow him to show so much emotion that stuck with fans even throughout the series?
With Kuiil, it was a lifetime of work. I talk about this a lot, where my very first job was Congo, and I was very fortunate to be trained by Peter Elliott and John Alexander for several months, not only developing the strength and physical ability to be quadruped in that film, but the nuances and learning how to coordinate with puppeteers, work in blind heads, and deal with the heat and the weight. And so throughout my career, I've weaved in and out with the wonderful puppeteers at Legacy Effects. And it just happened to be, one of those special once-in-a-lifetime moments where this team came together again, and was able to breathe life into this character together. And again, we all come from many decades of work together and on other projects. And not only as an artist that was trained to do this type of work, but my training again as a yoga teacher and a practicing yogi, it just all, came together. And yeah, I was fortunate. We also had Academy Award winning actor Nick Nolte with us every day. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they met with him and they recorded lines with him, one afternoon. And he gave us at least 3 different ways of saying the line, different tempo, different emotion. And so then when we went in to do the rehearsal first thing in the morning, we got a feel for how it was all coming together. And then the director would come over to the puppeteering station and we would choose the lines and stuff. And then I'd have him in my earpiece. They had speakers on set so that everybody that wasn't wearing a head could hear the dialogue as well and be able to hear the pace. And, every once in a while, the first couple of takes wouldn't necessarily be seamless for my team because it was me, Nick Nolte's beautiful dialogue, and 3 puppeteers. Yeah. So it was a big group. And it was Star Wars. This was the first of its kind as a television series, and the cast, the crew, everybody, we were all there because we love Star Wars, and most of us grew up with it. And so there was a deep love and a deep respect and appreciation for it. And so that's, I feel like, what the magic was. We showed up early and we were rehearsing early and we were ready to go. And yeah.
And for a set that grand, what's that feel like, stepping onto stage and then working with the puppeteers? And I mean, Nick Nolte as like the voice, like it's got to be unreal.
Yeah. For my screen test, they hadn't decided yet who was going to voice the character. And so there was like a scratch track, and I'm just grateful that me and my puppeteering team, they saw something in us together as we blended and meshed into this character that they were like, ooh, yay, okay. And so then they really went after who they thought would fit, voice-wise. And then they told me it was Nick Nolte. And I was like, oh, no pressure, no pressure. And it was like, don't screw this up, Mist. So yeah, I like studied the lines, and they're like, well, you weren't saying them. I was like, oh, I was in that head. I was like speaking them, even though they were, coming out of this animatronic head. I was like, because at the very heart of it, at the soul of it, that's got to be that breath and what I choose to do in the moment. That's got to come from me. So
yeah. For a lot of people who aren't familiar with the background of what goes into puppeteering, can you explain a little bit of that process of not only are you in costume trying to evoke these emotions and follow the scene, but you're listening to audio and you also are working with the person who's controlling the mouth and the different movements on the facial features. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. Going back to the beginning of this type of work, it was, again, really fortunate to cross paths with Michelin Sisti, who taught me and trained me for this style of work where there's dialogue and it is a coordination between me and the puppeteers. It's tricky. You have to be so present because I can hear, and I kind of got familiar with, I could hear when they were shifting or moving the eyebrows, and obviously I could feel the mouth moving. And the puppeteers are right there. They're usually right as close as they can be on set with a monitor. And yeah, you just have to trust them as well that they're doing their work. I hate micromanaging people. So I would just like, is it looking okay? Or, and I would always ask directors and my puppeteering teams, like, are you happy with it? Or do we need to adjust anything? And it's just being able to be present and everybody looking at everything. And, fortunately, the legacy puppeteers are so not only talented, they have so much experience. So
yeah, that's amazing. And how did you prepare for this character? You said you've done yoga for a long time and you have similarities in regards of the mentorship aspect of it. But how did you get into character for Kuiil?
When I put the entire costume on, I remember at Legacy Effects, it was our final costume day, and the entire costume was built, and all of the I had everything that the costume department made and brought over, and then we kind of walked around to all the departments so that everybody could see their work that had all come together. And I was like, ooh, I need to up my amount of squats that I'm doing, and my core, and like just all of, I needed to rearrange the way I trained physically for it. Is like, okay, this is heavy. Okay, it's gonna be okay. So that physical training, I shifted and adjusted for that, and then just paid attention. And every single night, I went through my, the lines and the scripts, and I did research because you see Ugnaughts for a brief second in The Empire Strikes Back. I asked Dave and John, it's like, do you need me to have any characteristics, or is there anything specific that I need to make sure that I do? And fortunately, they're like, no, just do your thing. And I was like, okay. Yeah. As far as the physicality of him, through my work at Henson and doing stunts and stuff, I have torn both of my calf muscles. So
Oh, wow.
I chose to give him a little limp, and my right calf muscle is still healing. And so, he's been around for a while, and has had to do some serious labor for the Empire. And I was like, okay, through all of that kind of work and stuff, it's like, he's worn out. So
I mean,
I decided to give him a limp.
Naturally, he would have a limp,
Yeah,
right?
so, right?
That's
Just, yeah. So little things like that. And they're like, well, how did you remember to keep it on the right leg? It's like, because that is, from, having that injury and stuff and having to work through that, it was easy. It was there anyway.
Yeah.
So with the wear and tear on my own body, I could feel it.
And what was it like working with Pedro Pascal, Carl Weathers, and what was that like?
At first, nerve-wracking. I was like, what am I doing? How did I get here? But they're the nicest people. You are on set with them, and there's always, when you have not met them yet, there's a formal introduction, and they're the most warm, kind, inviting actors. And it felt weird to me because when I got an email, especially for season 2, saying, hey, just so you know, our schedule's changed a little bit. You and Pedro will be having a rehearsal with Peyton, your director, on Monday. And I was like casual, like on my bed, just chilling. And I sat right up. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm working with Pedro?
Yeah.
So after I had like a brief panic attack, I was like, okay, let's work on the script. So, always coming in prepared is the best.
Did you already have the whole kind of storyline of how it was going to grow and how your character was going to develop, or do they just kind of take it episode by episode?
No, you have to prepare that beforehand because it's completely shot out of order. Like I did scenes from chapter 1 as well as scenes from chapter 7 on the same day. And so, yeah, in my scripts, I wrote notes, and specifically, knowing that that's how production was shooting for various reasons. We shot exteriors, and they were just trying to keep it as efficient and streamlined as possible. So, yeah, you have to do that work ahead of time. There were certain things that I knew I wanted to do, and to be kind of mindful of where we were, because Mando and I, with Kuiil, definitely had a journey of becoming, friends, becoming, for him to trust somebody, knowing his backstory. And he's just born into survival mode, just like Grogu. So trusting somebody is, not easy for him. So, yeah, just making sure I had written those notes down of certain things I would want to do.
Yeah. So. And being under Jon Favreau's direction of guiding this whole thing, how was that process? He seems pretty well put together as far as in regards to creating the layout of how this is going to go, but you following direction from that. What was that like?
He's wonderful. He watches, if he's, and especially season 1, he wasn't one of my directors, but he was there. Yeah. He was there to kind of oversee everything, and he comes and watches the rehearsals in the morning. He lets you do your thing. Every once in a while, he'll give like a couple of notes, but he does not micromanage at all. Sometimes he helps give you a little bit more backstory if, he can kind of see if it's not blending and meshing well. But yeah, he let me do my thing. So it was a dream come true. I've always wanted to work for him, with him. I've auditioned for a couple of things, and it didn't, I didn't book it. And then this came along, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I mean, what was that like? How did that pan out? So how did we get into Lucasfilm and get the audition and the process of that?
Oh my goodness. It's like being at the right place at the right time with the right skill set. I, to be honest, was not anywhere near performance art, and doing these types of roles. I had done this, been here, done this, and was like way over in music and songwriting and singing and opening for different artists. And so when my agent called me, it's like, do you have a demo reel of your, work in costume? And it's like, no. I was like, and I just, now I'm thinking back and mortified that I did not have a demo reel. And so I was sending just random clips.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are watching these random clips that are not, and I just, I again was not there. And so finally, I think there was a little back and forth of, okay, tell her to stop sending these clips and just bring her in for a cold read audition.
Yeah.
And even then, you arrive, they have you sign an NDA. They give you the script, and there were words changed. There was no title. I didn't know what I was auditioning for, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, no. I had no idea. I don't know. I got the sense that it was something big. But again, my journey as a yogi, as a yoga teacher, as a yoga practitioner, that is really what kind of helped me. That's what I used for the audition. So a lot of times people ask, is it this linear journey? And it's like, no, it's everywhere. The best advice I could give anybody at any given time is just do the things that your heart, is pulled to, that you're passionate about, period. And don't worry about the rest. So
No, yeah, and I love that. You mentioned yoga a lot. When did you start getting into yoga?
After the Country Bears movie,
Okay, I saw
I was
that.
very beat up from that costume. And my puppeteer on that movie, she's like, hey, I'm going to go to a yoga class. And I was like, I've never been to yoga. It's like, is it stretching? What is it?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. So, and it's like, okay, that'll be good for my body. And the moment I took that class, I never stopped. So 2001,
Wow.
just started practicing yoga. And what people don't realize that it does is it physically opens your heart. And it prepares you for, things that were coming up for me. And I'm just grateful that I had it. So
That's an interesting thing you said there. I kind of want you to dive more into that it opens your heart. For me, it opens the pain. Like, because the different positions I'm in, yoga's not easy. It kind of looks like it because you're just like, you're in different stances, but it's not easy at all. So opening your heart, that's an interesting take. I love that.
yeah, what I've come to know from my journey in life, what we are struck by, you don't just feel it physically, mentally, emotionally in that moment and it goes away. You hold on to it because the things that you go through that are hard, that are difficult, it's like in you and you have to learn how to cope through things. Like for me, my dad passed away 3 days before the Country Bears movie premiered. And so I had to go and be on the red carpet and do a little performance thing as Barry Barrington, the character, and just disconnect from what I was going through to be in this moment, to give that to the fans and stuff. And then, like it's this weird, try to move through life, with a heartbreak and do your job, but then go back to feeling it. And I know from my experience that you protect your heart and it's like this iron vice that is around it so that you can survive it. But through the yoga practice and the stretching and the breath and the movement and being present, it helps you to heal. And it's like pulling pages back to then, bring you back to your beginning. So, yeah.
It's kind of, do you also meditate at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah? You recommend it? Should I start getting into that?
Yeah. I recommend for everybody yoga and meditation because it centers you and it helps you to be here now. I myself included, even with my practice, and you catch yourself in the future, too far in the future of what you want and how you're getting there. And if it's not right there, then it creates anxiety. And then some of like memories or songs or whatever happens that pulls you back into your past or things that you've been through that have, that are heartbreaking, it's there too. So if you could just be here now, it brings you back to kind of a place of presence and peace. Like this moment, it's peaceful.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Now, do you do regular yoga or have you also done hot yoga?
Yeah, I teach in the hot room. I'm a Bikram yoga teacher.
Okay.
But as a practitioner, I do practice Bikram yoga, but I also practice Ashtanga flow because it's all important. It's all very much from the same, set of postures, just, thing. For the Bikram series, that's 26 and 2, and it's like a very specific, efficient journey, and each posture prepares you for the next one. So where Ashtanga flow, that is, you work through the sun salutation series and into the warrior poses, but every day is different in that practice, where in a Bikram yoga studio, it's the same, 26 postures and 2 breath exercises every day. So what's different is how you show up, what's going on in your life, and you'll feel that in there. But, what is stable and what is the constant is the pose. So, you learn a lot about yourself, and you're staring at yourself for 90 minutes. And it's like, learn to become your best friend. That relationship with yourself in the mirror is the most important one. So
now you also have a gymnastics background. You've done that for many years. I got to imagine that helps with the kind of work you do because of being physically trained and enduring that. How'd you get into gymnastics?
I was a very busy child. I was basically 2.5 when I took my first gymnastics class. Because I was jumping on my parents' couch and the beds and just, ruining the springs.
Yeah.
And my older brother's like, you should put her in a gymnastics class. And I went in there with my little leotard on. And it was like, they didn't even have to tell me, like, I got there and there's like, I can just, I just ran wild.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't want to leave. There's always tears, like when I had to, leave class every time that I got to go. And so I started at 2.5, and I was trained as a gymnast. I was on the national teams, an elite gymnast. And right up until the point that I got the call to audition for Congo, which was like this, 180 turn into, this is what I want to do in life. I love movies. And they needed gymnasts for those roles because you needed to be extremely strong everywhere, like your whole body, but especially your upper body strength. So to be able to walk quadruped.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, as a gymnast, as you were performing and competing, did you have in the back of your mind that you wanted to kind of get into stunts or go to the movie route, or the opportunity kind of just presented itself?
The opportunity presented itself. I had no idea. I was in college and not sure where I was going or what I was going to do. And it feels like it's out of nowhere, but it's not. It's, the right place at the right time. So that moment, and then that moment of going in for my audition for, the Mandalorian that I didn't know at the time. So, yeah, just again, go about your life, do the things you love, and just trust it. There's a timing that we're not necessarily aware of until, bam, it's right there. So,
Now you get Congo. That's your introduction into the
yeah.
industry. Yeah. So you get Congo, and I've seen pictures where you have these legs that you're on because you're on all four. Even as a gymnast, that's got to be intense. What was that experience like?
Yeah, that type of the gorilla characters, that is the hardest thing that I've ever done, because the weight of it, being quadruped, and in the heads and the hero heads, you're blind. We had a stunt head too for, because there was a ton of stunt work in Congo, and then as well as the movie Instinct that we did a few years later. I was so fortunate to train. We had 3 months of training for Congo before cameras even rolled. And it was, morning was 3 hours of weight training and cardiovascular training.
Wow.
And then we got a lunch break. And then the second half of the day was learning how to walk quadruped, the mannerisms and the movement, learning how to walk biped, and just all of it to breathe and embody, that type of movement of a gorilla. It was hard for me. I didn't catch on as well as my friend Lorene No did, who, we were a team for that character, Amy in Congo. But, I eventually got it. I was really proud when they asked me back for Instinct, and I just trained really hard. It's like, okay, I really want to master this. And I was able to do it from that movie. So
you did that. You also did, you were a baboon, yeah? In Hunger Games.
Yeah, and Catching Fire. I wasn't in costume. They had me wear, which again, it was so nerve-wracking. I was in this skin-tight silver unitard from head to toe. And so I had about 3 to 4 undergarments on.
Yeah.
And they tracked my movement all around that little, it was a man-made kind of pond up in the trees, and charging after the actors. I did get to have a fun fight moment with Finnick, where I jumped in and, grabbed he had like a spear type thing, and we had a little fight in the water. It was good.
Now, that's considered, was that mocap?
Yeah, motion capture.
Was that your introduction into mocap, or what was your first project?
No, my very first project was with the Jim Henson Company. They brought me in, and fortunately, I was again paired with my good friend Michelin Sisti, and we did it was like a test shoot and Brian Henson was directing, and it was Kermit and Gonzo from Muppet Babies. Oh. And it was hard because you not only have to maintain the space between the character, and it's not the same space as the physical artist. And it took me that whole shoot to understand, and to make your distance between them, he and I believable. Like, I would reach out to touch him, but the space between his physical body and the character's body is further apart. So, yeah, we did that project, and then I did Sid the Science Kid, also Jim Henson Company and PBS. So yeah, I've been fortunate to not only get to train with these artists that are experts at what they do, and then that just helps me go to my next project. And by the time, The Mandalorian came along, I felt like I knew what I was doing at that point.
Yeah.
So.
And do you have a preference at all as far as what's more comfortable, either in costume as a suit performer or motion capture?
Motion capture is easier because there's not enormously heavy head on top of my head, which obviously is, well, there's a restriction for your breath, especially in Kuiil. It was so close to my face that I started to breathe in my own CO2 faster than I did in Frog Lady. So, and I noticed it especially during, there's that one shoot day. It was just me and Deb Chow and the crew. And it was the whole chase scene back to the Razor Crest in chapter 7, which was intense. And it was hard because, I don't have the longest legs and I'm on the blurg and I was holding the baby and he's heavy. He's so heavy.
Yeah.
And so and then trying to hold on and trying to squeeze, especially when they're like, okay, we're going full speed in this one. And, after every take, I had him, but I would just drop everything and just drop my head back and just try to breathe. And it was intense.
How did you breathe in that mask for Kuiil?
Just learn to deal with it. In between takes, they open the mouth and nice. One of my puppeteers would bring in, they, designed them and developed them over the years. It's like a hair dryer, but without the heat mechanism in it. And so they would just blow air in. And especially when I was getting tired towards the end of the night, they're just like, you just take as much time as you need and let us know when you're ready.
Yeah.
By the end, I was just exhausted. And, this is how cool our team was. Latif and the stunt team, they'd been working their butts off too somewhere else on some other stage. And we were still shooting on our stage and the entire team came over to kind of spot me just in case. And they had a ladder and Latif would climb up and he literally picked me up and just carried me off. Cause I was just exhausted by the end. It was like riding a horse bareback for almost 8 hours. So
that's how long it took?
Oh yeah.
Was it for just that one scene?
That one, we did, because it's, it starts off that, I'm taking Grogu back to the Razor Crest. And so it was just I was trying to move as fast as I could, but not, moving that fast. And then I could hear Mando yelling. And it was like, where are you? And so then it was gradually, faster and faster. And it's just because they shot from the back, they shot from the side, they shot from the front and over and over and over and over. So it took a while.
Yeah, no, I bet. And through the process of bringing this character to life, did you start kind of getting an emotional attachment to the character as well?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's special because he's my first Star Wars character. And it's this lifetime of the healing process for me as a yogi that I put into it, the lifetime of work and my torn calf muscle and what it's felt like to lose people that are very close to me, early in life. Just all of it, all of that life experience, the heartbreak, the joys, everything, the hard work as a gymnast, just poured it all into this character. So, and my love for Grogu, because I would get not in trouble, but I'm sure it's John saying it, because I was obsessed with him. And every once in a while, Deb would come on and she's like, okay, Mist, remember, you don't like the baby that much. Just ignore him. I was like, I will, I promise.
I just want to play with him.
Yeah, there's a scene where I was building him his new pram and I thought I was looked over my shoulder at him and they're like, just ignore him.
Yeah. That's so funny. There's so many different things going on. You got the audio, you got the puppeteer, and then you got a little baby Grogu distracting you.
He's so cute. I was obsessed. When I was at Legacy Effects for my first fitting, I turned a corner, and my friend Connie, who is part of the hair tech team, that was literally punching the little fuzz on his head. And I was like, oh, who's that? And I was like, oh my goodness, is that Baby Yoda? And, they couldn't, they signed NDAs as well. So they're like, we can't say anything. It was like, but he's in the show. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. How'd you get your hands on this little guy?
It was a gift
Nice.
from Sideshow Collectibles, as well as, Kuiil. They're just the nicest people.
Yeah.
And, they found out. And again, anytime I had scenes with him, I was so excited, and especially with Frog Lady. The final scene that we shot, that actually wasn't even in the script. They, everyone liked her so much that John wrote that extra little scene in, and I was like, oh my God, I get to babysit Grogu. Yay!
Yeah.
So it was just, anytime I get to hold him, it's like my favorite thing.
Yeah. Now, looking at this, even this character you brought today with the whole setup, do you still look at that and go, man, this is unreal? Like, being a part of a massive franchise, Star Wars, basically. Like, that's gotta, just looking at it from time to time, I'm like, that's so cool. It's so cool to be a part of that.
Right. Yeah. Because it reminds me, they did such a good job with, that is so spot on to, my costume and my wardrobe, and even the ropes and everything on the blurg. It's very much that. And we wrapped up season 1 of The Mandalorian. I think I had a month of a break. In hindsight, I was excited to be then going right into season 2 of Word Party with Artie and the team. And when we were shooting, my agent called, and she's like, hey, something from Lucasfilm came here for you. And it's like, really? And she's like, we really want to see it too. So can we send one of our runners over? Where are you? It's like, I'm on set at the Helsing company. And she's like, okay, someone's coming over, and just send us a picture of whatever it is. And John and Dave and Kathy and Colin, they sent me, and they don't do this all the time, but it was one of the stills of him, and I didn't know the photographer was taking the picture, and I'm on the blurg, and I'm like looking over my shoulder, and I was like, oh my God, it was just cool. I mean, because this is before, the show was coming out, and had no idea how people were going to connect with it, if it was going to be received well, if people were going to like it. I was nervous. I didn't know if they were going to, like my character. But at the end of the day, all you can do is just pour your heart and your soul into it, and then just let it go. And how people respond is how they respond. So.
Oh, by the way, we loved it. We loved the character. The character was amazing. When it came out officially and it was streaming and all that, and you saw yourself on screen, what was that moment like?
Oh, that's always weird for me. I'm always like super critical. I was like,
turn my head left, right?
So crazy. Yeah. I don't really watch my work too often, because I just prepare as best I can, and then just try to leave it there, because I'll nitpick at it, and it's like that's something I need to work on as a human. I'm like,
you're not the only one though. There's a lot of other actors I've talked to where they're not the biggest fan of watching their own stuff.
Yeah, it's weird, because again, I just kind of will pick my performance apart and be like, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that, and it's like, and so that's why I prepare so much. Because I don't want to have that moment of, oh, darn it, I didn't do that and I should have done that. But I think, you always have that. So,
So that whole first season builds, and it eventually leads to a very sad scene, right? And I can see your reaction from it.
Yeah.
Leading up to that, it's such an intense scene. He's trying to get the kid back. They're pinned down. What are you feeling?
Oh my gosh. It was rough.
Still rough.
Because it was rough when the moment I got my scripts, like I like dove in as soon as Lucasfilm sent me the email of all my scripts. I read everything. And I remember sitting on my bed and reading that moment. And I was like, no. And I think I turned the page back. It's like, did I read that right? And so read it again. It's like, oh no, I just got to Star Wars.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things going on through my head of, oh, I'm so bummed, but also it's like, okay, this character has a very short time on screen. So I need to make sure that I give him, everything, and to give the characters that are involved with him my everything so that the arc of it is meaningful. And yeah, I remember the day that we shot that last scene. Our crew was on set and I walked on, and then all of a sudden I saw most of them walked off, and Deb came up and she's like, well, here we are. Nobody wants this, but as you know, this is probably one of the most important parts of Mando's arc, to lose something that means so much. It's necessary. And so, yeah, even just, choosing my position for that scene. And then the day came and at that point, lots of friends were coming over to the house to watch the show, and we were having Mandalorian watch parties, and I was just like, my hands were sweaty. I was dreading it.
Yeah.
My friend brought his 10-year-old son, and I'm just like, oh gosh, this is going to be a nightmare. And sure enough, like that moment happens, and people were just silent, and people were crying. And then just to break the ice, my friend Garen threw a pillow at me, and then everybody threw pillows at me. Okay. They're like, why? And it's like, because it's necessary for Mando's story, for his arc, to follow through on this journey. Kuiil knew the importance of these relationships and the importance of Grogu, and that he needed to be protected and, see this through to the end. And it's like, I was a symbol of that. He's going to see this through to the end, no matter what.
Oh my gosh. Still watching that scene. It's such an intense scene, and seeing the pan out of it, I was like, wow. So I'm like, if I'm feeling that way, the person in costume who built such a connection with this character, I'm like, see, so watching the watch party, when you saw it, what was your reaction?
Again, I was more concerned for my friends in that moment. For me, what kind of brings tears to my eyes is someone sent me a link to all of the podcasters on YouTube that are Star Wars fans, and we're literally doing watch parties for every single episode. And it's this, each of these podcast, these teams, and watching their reactions, and people are crying and super upset, and and then the girls, all of the women were crying, and the guys are just like, no. And it's like, well, so much for having a moral compass on this show. So yeah, that always seeing that little reel put together is it does get to me in a good way. It just means that we did our job, for everybody. So
what lessons do you feel Kuiil taught Mandalorian?
Not only to think before you react, especially when he was really, really upset that the Jawas stole all the parts off of his Razor Crest, and he's shooting him and taking him out. Yeah. And then it's your actions have consequences. Because like then when we were, we found the Jawa trawler, and I, I've always known, Kuiil, that, you know, being quiet and being mindful and being present and being aware of not just what I need for myself, but what others need, that relationship is very important. It's not, you can't blast your way through life. You could, but in order to build something meaningful, it has to come from a much more grounded and quiet and wise place. He doesn't talk a lot because a lot of people just talk, but and not really say anything. And that's why we're that, I said my piece and I have spoken that this is the end of the conversation. It's very clear. And just he taught him, like in my opinion, the value of a relationship that is selfless. Because I help him to get where he needs to go. I help him with his ship. 'Cause he's like just standing there fuming, and I was like, this is gonna go a lot faster if you help out.
Yeah, exactly.
And ultimately, in the end, knowing that this could possibly be his end, but for this little being, this innocent being, just like, he was an innocent when his parents were taken out, there are those willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good of all. So that's what I felt, and especially, in his travels, obviously he's a bounty hunter and he scoops them up and dumps them off. But that was like a key. It was just such a special moment when at the end of chapter 8, when he went back and specifically buried him and left his, hat and his goggles on. It was just this moment of he learned something from this person that he crossed paths with that felt random, but nothing is random.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah. Moving on from there, so season 2 comes along and you get Frog Lady. First of all, what was your reaction to that? Because you're like, I'm back.
Yeah, because I just, after season 1, there's no guarantees ever that you're coming back. And I assumed, well, I guess I'm not, and I'm really sad, but it's okay because I'm on board party, so I'm just gonna focus. When they called me and said, there's this little character and, she's a frog and a lady. In my head, I'm thinking of John and Dave, and it's like, okay, is this a dare or a double dog dare? So almost like, let's see what she can do with this one. I was like, cool, I'm up for it. Let me see what this character is. And I did go to Legacy Effects and we tried to figure out whether we wanted to try anything ever on all fours, almost, more frog-like movement. It didn't work. And it was like, not to mention, I was going to have to try to keep up with Mando. And especially when we were running away from the ice spiders, there was just no way. So we tried that. We had a movement test with that. And then once my whole costume was all put together, they brought me on for my own little screen test with one of the stand-ins for Mando to see us side by side and to try to start to develop what her like movement and physicality is. It helped a little bit, but for me, it's like I have to be in the scene and the dialogue to really try to bring that to life and bring that together. So
yeah. And speaking of that, you brought a couple of props with you.
I did.
You want to show those on screen real quick? What do we got here? What's the little?
Well, these are actually, they were a gift. My good friend Chris Bartlett, who does all of the droids for my birthday a few years ago, There's this amazing artist on Instagram. His handle is Framdam. He builds replicas of characters. So, and everybody asked me, are these, from the shoot? I was like, no, no, they're not. But yeah, these are, again, the hands, and I could show. So the hands that they made for her are super, super, super delicate. And my very first, it's the scene, her introduction scene, and it was rough because the opening of that scene is Amy Sedaris, her character Pelly, and they have a lot of dialogue, and so I was back there with her on the stairs, and they were giving me air, and then when they're like, okay, rolling, they have to take my air away, and I just had to sit there, and just try to be calm, and then my team helped me up and pulled the crate up, and I got in my spot, and then it was my turn to, come out. And then it was just a long, long scene without air. And then to add to that, the crate is really heavy, and the hands, this part of the hero hands is super, super delicate. I was physically holding on to the crate at first, and then one of my puppeteers, Tamara, came over and she's like, you can't hold it because you're tearing your hands. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And so then for the rest of that day, I had to kind of tuck that in and then pretend hold, and then the weight of that crate was just on my low back. And so on top of everything else, I'm just burning, just little things like that people don't realize and don't take into consideration. So I love how she turned out, but she was a hard one to work through and navigate with on set. It was a lot. So
yeah, and you also brought this amazing mask. You want to talk about this?
Sure. Again, that was part of my birthday present from a few years ago. It's a replica. He did a beautiful job. It's very similar to that. But it's interesting with this character. What people don't realize is I was totally blind. The moment they shut the mouth, I don't see anything. So I have to. And I've done this before, so it wasn't challenging, this type of work, but I had to count my steps at first from the moment I peek out and it's like, hi, and then walk towards Mando and Pelly to hit my mark. And I kind of get into a rhythm, so I do fill it out eventually. I don't have to count in my head, but it's like knowing, movement-wise, I would get in my place and do that and a couple side steps and then 7 to 8 steps towards my mark. And yeah, so it was challenging.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit before too about the scene where you and Mando are running from these spiders and how intense that scene was.
Yeah.
In regards to the actual leaping, were you on some wires, and how did that get created?
That was ILM, actually, Industrial Light and Magic.
Okay.
I helped them out as far as my friend Joe from ILM came through, and he's like, we need you to help her get into the run, and then at the end of the run, kind of be on all fours and then get back up so that there's a seamless transition there. But, fortunately that was ILM because there's no way I could do that part. Yeah. So, yeah.
Were you also, what was that scene like? You were in costume still, but you were in the hot tub with your little babies.
Mm-hmm. That was, I think, one of the hardest days of my life because I would get super hot in the costume. And so then they would drop the temp of the water down. And then it was just a tricky day. We were in the volume and they were having trouble with the screen. So then it would then be too much of a break and I wasn't moving and I wasn't working. And so then I would get cold. Then they would bring the water temp up. I also had to get out of the water and into my costume, dry costume, and do some work. Then I had to get back into the wet one, and it was cold. And yeah, it was, in that day, they chose to shoot that on a Friday, and it became well known into the shoots that we had what we called Fraturdays, which started at, Friday, 11 a.m. But on that shoot day in the water and stuff, we didn't wrap until almost 3 a.m. on Saturday morning. So,
Where was the location for that? Because you're in like the mountains basically, but where was the set?
Manhattan Beach.
Really?
So, yeah.
Where?
It was on the volume. It was on a stage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a little baby right here too, huh?
I do. This little guy, one of the wonderful, his name is Ray from Spain. Just a fan. He made it for me, and I went to Spain a couple of years ago, and he brought it for me. Actually, I always have them because I'm proud of what they do. They sign it too.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So he's like, wait, what? You want me to sign it? It's like, yeah, it's your work.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
this is really cute.
It is cute.
He's always like, everybody's like, oh my goodness, where can I get that?
Yeah. Now, performing as the Frog Lady, you did a lot of work also with Grogu.
Yes.
How was that for you?
I loved it. And I always have to explain because people are upset that he was, eating the eggs.
Yeah.
But I was like, this little baby, like Mando, all they've ever known in life is survival, is just trying to survive life. And Mando's still, he's just trying to get him to where he needs to go. He has no training or understanding of what it is to be a dad, what it is to be a parent. He's just laser beam focused on trying to get this little being to a Jedi. And even when Grogu standing by the big giant piece of meat on that like spigot, and he's like, because he's hungry. Mando didn't take that cue, and he's like, come on, let's go, we're going. His head is just like, just keep moving. And so he's a baby, he's a growing baby, and he's hungry. Because everyone's like, were you upset? And it's like, no. I understood. Mando tried to make us a meal, and he didn't like it. And I was like, and gently put it down. So explaining that you don't learn by yelling at a small child. He can only learn by his actions. And obviously it became like a full circle moment when Mando dropped him off, and we babysat, and he again was right there against container, and just got to watch the miracle of life. And there's a little quick moment, which I love. And, people have captured it in art where he looks up at me almost like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what I was doing. So, and I was like, have you ever told a 2-year-old no? And do they listen? Because Mando kept trying. He's like, no. And he's like,
And how did you approach Frog Lady as opposed to Kuiil? Because two very different characters. Frog Lady's very loving. She's got these babies.
Yeah.
What was the mindset going into Frog Lady?
Maternal. Female.
Yeah.
I turned my feet way out, where with Kuiil, I kept my feet in a neutral position. Because I study movement, and I study people's movement, and I watched, men, and I watched their gait, and it's more in a neutral place, and arms were rotated in. Frog Lady was rotated out, almost like open heart. And again, very docile, kind of quiet, loving, and again, never was impolite or disrespectful. She's just wanting to get home, wanting to, again, get back to her family, and just needed a ride. And then,
I mean,
and then
basically.
everything went awry.
I really love every time she talks, and he's like, I don't speak frog. Like I don't know what you're saying. And she's just trying to communicate.
Yeah. So and that was, a crazy moment because that was our first shoot day with Pedro. My very, very first day on set with him during pre-production. Peyton wanted to rehearse, that scene where I'm literally, this is a do or die moment for her. And it's like, please, please, please help me. And so preparing for, that scene and knowing that I'm underneath this costume, I'm underneath layers and layers of, the characters' costume as well as all of the wardrobe. And it's like, how is that going to get emoted out? Yeah. And I told my puppeteering teams, like, underneath all that, like, I'm shaking and I'm not holding it together well. So I made sure during the rehearsal that I really showed that. I showed that layer of, tears and fear and shaking and scared so that they knew underneath all that, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
So.
And as a Star Wars fan yourself, what's your favorite episode from 1 through 6, and who's your favorite character in this land of Star Wars?
Hard one.
I know.
I'd have to say, because it was such an epiphanal moment for me as a little kid, watching The Empire Strikes Back. With my younger brothers were with me and my mom was there too, and I had already been 4 years into gymnastics, so I was doing handstands and I was doing like front tucks and things like that, and to watch Luke train with Yoda. I was just like, I remember I sat up in my seat. I was like, I could be a Jedi. Yeah. I could be a Jedi, Mom. I do gymnastics too. And so that was it for me. Yoda, I was obsessed with because I knew that he's not real, but he's real. He talks and he moves, and so Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi are, two of my favorite.
Both masters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
What about a little? He's there for a little bit. What about a little Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yeah. Yeah. For me though, like I said, I mean, it's just because it's so tied to my childhood. Those two, it's just this moment that I remember. So, yeah. But I do love that character too. So,
yeah. And some of your previous work as well. You worked on Van Helsing. We talked a little bit about that. The fire burn. Let's talk more about it. You said there was 6 takes on this fire burn. Well, what was that set like, being on and working with Hugh Jackman and all?
It was amazing. They were huge sets. And just all the detail. It was beautiful, and a lot of stunts, obviously. And yeah, they invited me to do that burn, and I was like, sure, why not?
Okay, nice.
And never done a fire burn. I feel like looking back on it would have been good to maybe just do a leg or an arm first, not just like, we're just gonna light you head to toe, hold your breath. So it's just a huge process. Unfortunately, R.A. Rondell was the stunt coordinator and Chad Stahelski was the assistant. And it was just a whole team, and it's layers upon layers of these Nomax suits that are in this gel that are in a freezer, and so it's really, really, really cold, and you really want it to be really cold.
Yeah.
And they put that on, and then you have a straw that they put in your mouth, and then a whole bunch of gel on my lips, and then and thank goodness sometimes I feel like my dad was right there as my angel on my side. The first time Chad lit me, I was still for a brief moment taking my breath in, and fire catches that oxygen instantly. and I didn't panic. I just bit down on the straw and, they ratcheted me, but it was not good. Like I did cough at first. They're like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just Chad and I need to get our timing down just a little bit better." And so, again, it's a coordinating thing. And I was like, "I'm going to give you a thumbs up when I'm really, really ready." Just to make sure, because I was nervous. So I was like, and wanted to make sure I had a deep breath, bit down, and was like, okay. And then from then on out, the last 5 were cool. But it was just that moment of do not move, just hold on, bite the straw down, don't move, So yeah.
You shoot across, and how do they put you out?
A whole bunch of fire extinguishers.
Oh, yeah?
There's like a team of 4 people. There's a little porta pit, but they had to start putting me out, obviously, before I landed on the porta pit. So, yeah, it was like a whole thing. But they were so professional and, very present, thank goodness, with what we were doing. And yeah, it was seamless.
When there's a scene where you're chasing the girl, you jump and you grab onto her legs.
Yes.
How many takes did that take?
I want to say the first part of it was like maybe 5 takes or so. It was good. It was, that went really well. And again, my years and years and years of gymnastics training to have that type of control and to be in the air and not be worried about that, be on wires and grab on and have that much strength to then, they were kind of pulling me up, but it had to look like I was, climbing up and grabbing her foot. So, it was a few takes. And then obviously when we set up for that, fall, when she does cut the rope with the sword. That was, I think we did maybe 2 to 3 takes of that scene.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And what I noticed also when I was researching back then, you also worked for Disneyland for a period of time in Fantasmic.
Yeah.
What role did you play in Fantasmic?
That was my very, very first professional job.
Really?
My parents, I was in college and I was in the dance program. So it was, again, it felt like this seamless transition into this. And I actually, a good friend of mine that was in the dance program with me had said, she's like, with your height and stuff, you should audition for Disneyland. I didn't know what I was doing. I think I got a call to go to Disneyland for, an interview. And it was, for working at the hotel. And I was like, oh, shoot. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, I don't know how to do it, but I want to audition for, to be a dancer or a character. And as fate would have it, they had sent flyers all around the park to all of the employees, whether it was in the park or at the hotel. And she said, oh, okay. And so she pulled out this flyer and handed it to me. And it was for the audition for Fantasmic. And I went to the audition and my parents were like, I don't know. She's never done an audition before.
Sure.
Do you think she's going to get it? And didn't matter. I was just going to audition and I did. My very first roles on that show were Dancing Monkey and Donald Duck. And I was a swing for all of the Mickey Mouse parts. So.
Oh, wow. You did Mickey as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I mean, technically, I'm a little bit too short for Mickey, but in that show, everybody has multiple parts. And, unfortunately, every once in a while, someone would get hurt midway through. It's very stressful because then they're like, hey, you need to go and, run up to the main stage and we got to put you in, Sorcerer Mickey. And so you're running up there and going, oh my goodness, what is the choreography? And you're trying to remember it really quick and they're trying to put you in the costume and change the headgear and the head. And so, I didn't like that, but it was cool. It was an adventure.
How long were you in that show for?
I was in the original cast and I did, the first season And then I went off because I got Congo. So I was gone for about 1.5 years. And then after Congo, I came back because I wanted to do more shows at Disneyland because I loved working there. So
Yeah. So you're talented in so many aspects. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is your music.
yeah.
When did you start getting into music? And by the way, before we get into it, Panic Button, amazing.
Thank you.
So good. The music video,
Thank
the
you.
song, everything.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so
course.
much. I went to the Jim Henson Company to audition for Sid the Science Kid. And they were also auditioning all of the female actors for one of the characters, the teacher Susie in the show. She sings a song every episode. And so after my audition, they're like, do you sing? And it's like, sort of, because I've always, from the time I was in kindergarten, had been in choir, all the way up and even through junior high and 7th grade, I was in the choir, loved singing. But it was just something that I loved to do. It wasn't necessarily a profession. And so I was like, well, I don't know what to sing because you guys didn't tell me about this part. So I went out and it's like, what am I going to do? And then this is a children's series. So I was trying to think of a kid's song and thinking of my nieces, and I would sing to them all the time. So I was like, well, I'll just sing a song that I have sung for my nieces and nephews. And so I sang You Are My Sunshine.
Oh, nice.
They loved it.
Yeah.
And the creator of the show, Hallie Stanford, she was dating the music producer at the time on Sid the Science Kid. And she remembered my music audition. And she's like, are you doing anything with your singing? And it's like, no, trying to navigate this town and one profession is hard enough. I was like, I wouldn't even know what to do. And she's like, let me put you in touch with my boyfriend, Paul. And from there, it just started. I went in, I had only written one song and it was a breakup song. And I pitched that a cappella and they liked it. And from that point on, I went on the journey because, again, it's that love journey. It's that journey of the heart. What I will say is navigating through that profession and the work and what it takes to stand on a stage and sing. I remember my first showcase, I was like shaking like crazy, and I'm quite certain I was barely audible. All of that, it was all necessary, and it was where I was when I went in for my audition for The Mandalorian. And so it's like I went into that audition carefree, in a way, like, I'm just doing this on the side anyway. I'm focused on this music thing, so this is cool. I'll do this, but whatever. Like, I was proud of the audition, but I went straight back to writing and recording and on this mission to play songs and hopefully in TV shows. And yeah, I've been at it ever since. And I wrote and recorded my song "The Way" as a tribute to Mando and Grogu. And so
I heard that too.
Yeah.
The panic button, putting that together and filming. I think one of the shots too, because I was watching the behind the scenes, you jump from like, what is it, a 40-foot drop or something into a little cushion?
Yeah, we did a high fall.
Yeah.
There's a 40-foot high fall. And the actor, Matt Cinquanta, who was in the video with me, he'd never done that before. And fortunately, one of my good friends, Nancy Thurston Huggins, she's a high fall master. And we went and trained, made sure that we gave him at least a month because he was afraid of heights. And I said, don't worry about it. We will make it work.
Yeah.
You do not have to jump from that 40-foot tower.
Yeah.
And for him it was part of the journey, of the things that scare you the most, to kind of move through and literally don't press the panic button. Do it take your time with those things that are scary, and always know that, there are people that are going to support you no matter what. And so, and he did it. He was scared.
Oh, he jumped from the 40?
He did.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I was very proud of him. So, because it's a lot. You get up there, you look at it from below, it's like, that's not that high.
Not
but
bad,
you get up there, and at the top, it sways.
Oh, no.
And that airbag doesn't look so big.
I gotta land there.
Yeah,
exactly.
And 40 feet is the height. It's starting at that height where you get that weightless feeling for a second.
Oh shoot! And you got to be careful, like, to land properly and not land.
It's a whole thing, and if you're scared, oftentimes, like, you're disconnected, your body from your mind and stuff, and you just have to safety first. Like, there are a few times he got up there, and it's like, I can't, and it's like, don't, just come back down, to there, because there were other, there's 10 feet, there was, I think, 15 feet, 30 feet, or no, that's what it is I think it was around 25 feet, and there's a pretty big jump between that tower level and 40. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah.
So you've been in the industry for a long time. Yeah. Now, from when you first started and got your first project, such as Congo, to now doing The Mandalorian, and seeing the industry change over the years, how have you continued to be able to evolve, and what's so different from when you first started to now?
Well, I feel like right now we're still just trying to come out of the aftermath of the pandemic and the strikes and everything that happens with all of that. So I've always felt that, because we've been through strikes before. We've all survived before. And if you really, it'll do two things. You'll either just be like, I can't do this anymore, and people will move on, and that's totally understandable. Or the ones, all of us that are still here, that are determined to make it happen, you get a second job and a third job, and I feel that that really, it shows the universe that it's like, I'm staying, I'm here, and you just have to trust it. You just have to keep training, going to class, and being proactive and reaching out to your agent, and just trusting the process of all of it. I have high hopes that, we'll find our footing again, and more production will start happening. It's just, we're in a shift right now. So, but I've always believed that all of us here, our human connection is the most important thing. And this art form, we need humans in order to really feel and to move through stories with someone on screen. We're wired, and you can tell when it's artificial. I
agree.
So
now, for people who are just getting into stunts or getting into even costume work, what kind of piece of advice would you give them as far as navigating this industry in that kind of line of work? Training
first and foremost. Train as a dancer. Make sure that you work out, practice yoga. Dance class, acting class. Auditioning for Disneyland, for Universal Studios, for Six Flags, because that's an opportunity to be in costumes. And most of the time when you're in the costumes, you may be performing and there's dance. So that's why I encourage dance training, and just trusting that there is it's like step by step, and you meet people when you do these live shows, and then it's about getting an agent, and then auditioning, and knowing that one just trust the journey. If you're in it, just stay in it. It doesn't come overnight. I've had friends that are like, I'm going to just give it 2 years. I was like, 2? Try 10.
Yeah.
You hear the stories of people that come in and they immediately make it, but that's like a 0.001%. The rest of us, it's a daily grind. And be honest with yourself. If you really love it, which I have every second and not going anywhere, you just kind of surrender and you're in it. And it's like, what can I do? Who can I train with? And just trust it and take the steps and just make sure that you are passionate about it. That's, again, first and foremost. Does this speak to your heart? And is it something that you just know in your heart you have to do regardless of the outcome?
Yeah.
For me, music has very much been like that.
Absolutely.
So
now with working with like the Star Wars franchise and the Mandalorian, working on those sets and everyone involved, finishing it, what did you take away from that experience?
More courage as an artist and wanting to, come out from underneath the costume and to, take on roles either way, either, seeing this or being in costume. But to work with Pedro Pascal, who's, superstar, and Carl Weathers, superstar, to get to collaborate with Bryce Dallas Howard, superstar, and Jon Favreau, like all of these people, Dave Filoni, just every single one of them, they're the best of the best at what they do. And so they elevate your performance as well with their knowledge and talent and skill set. So I feel like I'm a better artist now, because of them, and more courageous. And, especially on the movie, I was the motion capture. I was the artist that was on set in costume for Hugo, the chef. And then I was also there for Gattori.
Nice.
And I didn't have a head on for Hugo. Like, I knew my lines. One of my closest friends, Elena Sanchez, who's an actor, she happened to be staying with us during the time that we were getting prepared. And she ran lines with me every single night, different tempos and try this, try that. So that when I went to set for the first time, I wasn't like incredibly nervous that, the camera's right there. Half the time I can't see the camera. And that I could be there and embody these characters and, not be hidden underneath a costume. It's like, ooh, I want to do that more. So, because I love making people laugh. So
I love that.
Yeah.
And what's next for you? What's coming up?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I'm hoping to audition, for whatever comes my way, and just going to continue I train as a vocalist, and, I'm working on a new song, and
nice.
Yeah. And still teaching yoga and practicing and just being ready to be ready to be ready.
From all these characters you've portrayed, Kuiil, Amy, the gorilla, the frog lady, you've played so many different characters. What do you hope people understand from the level of work and intensity that goes into performing these characters?
Gosh, it's one of those things where unless you've been in the costume, and not just for 15 minutes, but for day in and day out, for weeks and weeks and weeks, you couldn't really understand it unless you were in it. But just to know that, like, I work out and practice yoga, and I meditate, and I go to acting classes and voice lessons, and I've dedicated my whole life to this work, and that I pour my entire heart and spirit and life experience into it. And yeah, it comes from all of it. It comes from love, and that open heart, which again started one day after I took my first yoga class, to really get into these characters that are deep and have a lot of depth and levels and heartbreak and all of it. Like, I feel like I've been able to embody that more. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And as we start to wrap up, any closing thoughts you'd like to share?
Closing thoughts. Just have fun in life. Choose to do the thing that brings you joy every day, that makes you get out of bed every day, and to take the long journey with it. That the joy period is the journey. So I have
love that.
spoken.
I have spoken. That's so good. Well, thank you so much for
You're
taking the time
welcome.
out to be on the show and
Thanks.
share your whole experience through the industry and your experience on Mandalorian.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
So-
And before we wrap up, just look into this camera right here and tell people where they could find you.
Hi, everybody. You can find me on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel where all of my music and music videos are. And I spend most of my time, as far as social media, on Instagram, Misty Rosas.
Thank you so much. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you for tuning in, watching it. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't. Give it a like, a comment. Really helps out the channel a lot. And every single Tuesday, I drop a new episode with a new talent. We get into their journey of how it all started. So we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.